Tell you more about the book. Okay. Who's the ideal reader? Originally I thought it would just be probably women of my age, that are seniors. But it didn't turn out that way because some of the things that I went through in my youth really resounded with a lot of readers. And I'm still getting letters and people exchanging ideas with me and saying that happened to me and this is how I handled it, and trying to give them inspiration and give them support. So I have to say that the book probably appeals to women, although again there are men that have read it, and because they're interested in the programs, and because don't forget it's almost like two separate books. You've got my life before Honduras, before I made this change in my life, and it was pretty wild, so we've got some pretty some experiences in there which some people will be able to identify with, but then there's also I put information about my business, about human resources in there, and so if somebody's interested in HR, they probably want to read that. I've traveled all over the world, and that wasn't through American Airlines. That was me traveling. So there's travel stories in there that people have found interesting and are writing me back and saying, I remember when I was there, and this kind of thing. So to answer your question, I guess it can appeal to pretty much anybody.
Everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have someone joining me from the cottage today. And when she's not at the cottage, she's helping people who really need help. And I love her heart as an author, as a creator. She's out there helping people, taking a message and helping people in the amazing country in Honduras. And I'm so excited that she has time to be here. Ann Fowler's on the podcast. And welcome to Living the Next Chapter.
And thank you for asking me.
It's great to have you here. And for those that don't see what I'm seeing right now, I see behind you the beauty of being at the cottage. And I'm so jealous. I want to be there with you. It looks great. Where are you joining us?
This is my little porch off my bedroom. This is my porch off. This is my happy place right here.
So where are you? Where are you?
With the green in the background. We're in Haliburton, close to the town of Haliburton. And I've been here for I think this is our 29th year here. And when I retired in 2000, of course, it's now 6 months here, 6 months in Honduras.
So. Now tell us about your connection with Honduras. How did all this start? I'm really curious for the listener to hear this.
Oh, golly. When I wrote the book, I thought occasionally about doing it in two sections. One before Honduras, my life before Honduras, and my life after. And people that had read the book said, no, don't do that. You wouldn't want to do that. It should all go together. So anyhow, what inspired me to go to Honduras? My family doctor. And he said to me one time, 1993, he said to me, Annie, you need to come on our medical mission with us this year. He was the medical director of a mission group that went to Honduras to do medical stuff. And I said, okay. So I went, and that's it. The rest is, I was hooked. So I spent every waking moment driving everybody crazy, saying I'm going to retire in 2000. And I went there every year in between, just to go on the mission groups. But in 2000, I actually retired, sold my company, sold my house, and moved down there. And I've never regretted it, not for a second.
So it's not only a change of location, but a change of lifestyle. What was your life like before that trip to Honduras? Tell us a little bit about your background.
My background, basically, in terms of my work background, I spent over 30 years in human resources. I owned an agency called Hamilton Enterprises. I'm not even sure agencies are active anymore. I don't know how they can be with the internet. But anyhow, we used to place people in jobs. And prior to that, I was in nursing. I was a flight attendant with American Airlines. Did various things, but basically my career was in HR. And I know you did some HR too.
Yes, that's right. And not to the extent that you have. So I'm admiring your path in life. And the one thing we shared, we won't share the whole story, but you were a very sneaky person and you got to work for the airlines despite having vision things you had to deal with. And I'm very, yes, in
Glasses?
glasses,
Wearing
yes. You
glasses?
shared a story with me, which made me
Yeah.
smile. I don't know if you want to summarize the story a little bit, but you did something very creative.
Oh, I can just make it easy. I can make it easy. Sure. All the airlines back in 1962, 61, when I joined, you couldn't wear glasses. They had a lot of rules for stewardesses. Couldn't wear glasses. So because I'd been in nursing, I knew the doctors. So I simply got one of the interns to give me all the eye charts that doctors use in Toronto, so that when I went for my interview, I had perfect vision, of course. So the first year I was a flight attendant, when I was down there, the company doctor gave a company medical, and he put his pen down and he said, "Okay, tell me how you did it. There is no way your vision became this bad in 1 year." And so it became a story that everybody laughed about. I didn't get kicked out of the airline for it. So,
That's interesting. So you memorized the charts, which is that's so unique. That's so
memorize the
unique.
charts, of course.
See,
That's right.
where there's a will, there's a way. I like that story.
Yeah. Fortunately, those restrictions
No.
don't exist anymore. I mean, that kind of stuff just doesn't happen. The girls don't have to wear
No.
girdles anymore either, which we had to wear back then. And those of your viewers who are older will
Yeah, there
understand
you
what a
go.
girdle is. You
Okay,
know.
so your life changed though. You come back from Honduras, and what did you say when you came back to your family after that trip? How were you different?
Um, I just said I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, and because I'd had an experience in Honduras, and which I'm not
Yeah, I
sure if
would
you
love
want
to
me to
know
go into
more.
that, but
Yeah.
it, had an experience in Honduras that changed my life, and I just said to my family, "Okay, I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to sell the company in 2000. I'm going to sell the house, and I'm going to spend 6 months there and 6 months here."
And how did they
And that's what I
respond?
did. Uh, my kids, my family, they believe me. They believe me because they know me. My friends just said, "Oh, sure you are." You know, materialistic Anne who drives a Lincoln and wears suits from Holt Renfrew, and you're going to move to Honduras. Of course
Hmm.
you are. You know, so nobody believed me.
But there was a change in you, right? Yeah.
Well, there was. Um, that first trip that I went on in 1993, it happened one night. I was lying there on the floor with all the other women in our group, and in the middle of the night, and I sat up in my sleeping bag because I heard somebody say to me, "Your life is going to change and you're going to follow a different path." And I thought, what? You know, but I knew in my heart, I mean, I knew that God was telling me that I had to change my way of life, which had been pretty reckless up until that point, and make it more about other people than me. And so that's kind of what set it all off. And from that day forward, that was my goal. That's what I was going to do.
And the people you
And I
met
did.
there that served with you and you served alongside, talk a little bit about some of the people that inspired you that also went down there to serve that community. Who did you meet, and what did you love about them when you met them?
Okay, now you're talking about the people I have met in
Yeah.
Honduras. Okay. Well, there's two people in particular, of course. There's Iris, who is my Honduran daughter. Iris is 45. She's worked with me now for almost 20 years down there as a volunteer. And then my Honduran son, Melvin Tejada, who is the executive director of the clinic that I worked at when I first moved down there that first year in 2000. And I actually hired him and to be the clinic director. And we've been very close all these years. So those two were very inspiring to me. Uh, I guess I can say that I've been inspired mainly by the Honduran people, by the children, by the adults, by their resiliency, They have nothing, most of them. Um, we all quibble when something goes wrong in our car or whatever, but I mean, they don't have a car, most of them. They don't even have a proper house, a lot of them. And so I guess that was really the inspiring thing. And seeing how uh, what they needed and trying to try to work towards what we would do for them, what I could do for them. What can I do to make their life better? Not that I'm changing them, I'm not. What can I do to make things better for them? And so that's kind of what I've worked towards all these years in terms of education. I've done a lot of stuff in education, medical teams, dental teams, to try and improve the lives.
So
And again, as I say, I've never regretted it.
talk a little bit about the people that come down to help from different places that come to Honduras. You're getting together with a group of people that you work with, which sounds great up at your place. But talk about the team that you work with as well.
Yeah. Okay. The original teams that I had when I first started my programs, I had started an ophthalmology visiting doctor program in El Progreso, the clinic where I lived above when I first moved there. And so visiting doctors from the States, from Canada, ophthalmologists, some of them still continued to come up to El Porvenir. The dental program that I'm currently working on, this is my main thing now because I simply can't do it all anymore. And so I've handed over a lot of the work I did in education and stuff to other people. But the dental program, which has been going since 2008, is still very active. And that's what you were talking about, me getting together with people. At this point, we have a program where all the children in my village of El Porvenir, there's 2 elementary schools, one, if you can call it a school, but it's supposedly a school. The other one is a regular elementary school. We see almost 800 kids, grades 3 through 6. So this is a program that is annual. So let's say you've got a child in grade 3. Well, that's the first year they're in the program. So the hygienists come down. We have a hygiene team come down, clean those kids' teeth. And then the ones that need further dental help, we refer them to our dentists that we have in our dental clinic that we equipped a number of years ago. And so the kids are in the program for what? That's 4 years, right? It's grade 3 through 6. And it's made a huge difference in the dental health of the children. It really has. I mean, I had 3 teams this year that came down, and these are the people that are coming over here for a barbecue on Saturday. Last spring, when I was, not last spring, a year ago spring, when I said I was going to bring the teams down again this year, I had a little girl come up to me and she's pulling at my sweater. And in Spanish, she says to me, "My mommy and daddy were in the program." And so we have a grade 3 child whose parents had been in the original program, probably, but as I recall, they were 2009 is when her parents were in. But it is making a difference because dental care is a non-issue in Honduras. I mean, it's probably the last thing they think of if they get anything at all. I mean, there are dentists available, but you have to have money. And of course, most of the Hondurans can't pay for it. So our program is free and provides everything free. And actually, you have a connection to that, but which I need to tell you. I spoke to Dr. Kerr and told him what you said about your wife being in the warehouse at the dental supply company. He says, "Yeah, we're clients of theirs, So your wife's company knows about the program and actually have done some things to help them get stuff down there." So what you and I talked about earlier, I mean, if she could do
Yeah.
more, that's great. And I told them that.
Excellent.
So,
Yeah, she was excited to know that we had our
yeah,
conversation, and she went straight to her supervisors
yes,
and talked as well with them, and they were very aware of what you're doing and very supportive. So it's nice to know that connection's already in place, and
good.
we can always do more. And that's the one thing I wanted to ask you about, Anne, is people listening to this and they want to donate to this cause and be a supporter to financially support or make donations to help you and your team through your website, or is there a way for people to be supportive to you?
Oh, crap. Yes, no, it's because we're Canadian, I don't have a
Okay.
registration. So if people are going to help support the dental program, then they can then they send it through dental outreach.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have
Yeah,
to, I
we'll
should
put
get that
yeah.
and send it to you. But yes, there is a website. But if you go on my website, you can see different
Okay.
places to go. For example, the fellow who did my website 15 years ago, I've never met him in my life, but he's got an organization that is going to contribute to this. It has to be through an American organization because I don't have the numbers. So to get a tax receipt, the Americans had to go through a US. So I found somebody to do that
Good.
for them in the States, and they're donating an air conditioner for the
Nice.
dental clinic this year, which is great. We really need it. But here in Canada, it's been kind of people have bought my book. I mean, my book is the best way to help contribute to the program because I wrote the book to
Okay.
fund the program. And this is
It's right there. It's right
that's a
there.
book.
Yes. I have it
There
on your
it is.
website
Like
here
one
too. I love
glance.
it.
Okay, good. Yeah, you do. So actually for Canadians, if they want to specifically donate to the dental teams themselves, I will
Okay.
get that information and they should just get in touch with me and I'd send it to them. If they want to contribute to the entire thing with the stuff that I do down there, the education and the uniforms and all that, then the best way to do it is
Okay.
just to buy my book. And it's online on
Okay.
Amazon.
So let's talk about the book, Anne, as well. Let's fall in love with this book that you've written. It's called I've Worn Many Hats, and you have worn many hats over the
Yeah.
years. Can you
Oh, I
tell us
sure
more
have.
about the book and who is the ideal reader for your book?
Tell you more about the book. Okay. Who's the ideal reader? Originally I thought it would just be probably women of my age, that are seniors, but it didn't turn out that way because some of the things that I went through in my youth um, really resounded with a lot of readers. And I'm still getting letters and people exchanging ideas with me and saying that happened to me and this is how I handled it, and trying to give them inspiration and give them support. So I have to say that the book probably appeals to women, although again there are men that have read it and because they're interested in the programs, and because don't forget it's almost like two separate books. You've got my life before Honduras, before I made this change in my life, and it was pretty wild, So we've got some pretty some experiences in there, which some people will be able to identify with. But then there's also I put information about my business, about human resources in there. And so if somebody's interested in HR, they probably want to read that. I've traveled all over the world, and that wasn't through American Airlines. That was me traveling. So there's travel stories in there that people have found interesting and are writing me back and saying, I remember when I was there, and this kind of thing. So to answer your question, I guess it can appeal to pretty much anybody. And,
So your story for writing the book, what
so
was the initial idea that you said, I have to write this book?
why I have to write this book? I did it
Yeah.
on a dare. I did it on a dare. Because my life has been rather eventful. my friends have been telling me for years that, you got to write this stuff down, Anne, so, people remember what you did, you know. But I guess what really instigated is one of my close friends. She and her husband, who they spent a great deal of time at the cottage, and he was my Mr. Fix-It man. And they were moving to Vancouver. He was retiring. And so I thought, I'm going to be so bored, And then COVID hit, and I was stranded in Honduras for 20 months. But I'd started the initial stuff before that. But that's what pushed me to totally finish it. And, people say, how did you remember all this stuff? And I think the answer is, I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but you asked me anything from 20 years ago, and I can describe it in detail. And 50, 60 years ago, go ahead, So it was an interesting experience for me. I got more out of it, things that I never expected. I never expected to feel the way I did after I wrote the book and saw the results. And basically, in a nutshell, I think there were so many things in my life, events that I had never closed off. I'd never had closure on. I'd never thought about it, well, that's in the background. I'm not going to think about that now. And the book forced me to think about things, and it gave me closure. And it was no matter what I do for the people in Honduras in terms of getting money from the book, it gave me closure, and for that, it was worth it.
Yeah, we have a lot of authors that listen to the show, Anne, and they're learning how to become an author. They're just early days writing their book, and you have a book. So you know more than they do because they're just new at this. Any tips for a new author about sharing their story and writing a book?
Well, I mean, the only thing I've got experience with, no, it's not true. When I was a young kid, I used to write Nancy Drew type mysteries. So, I mean, I did write stories, but this is the only book I've written. And again, because it's my story, it was easier just to go through it and just like I'm talking to somebody. So what I did was I'd remember something, have an eye, and I suppose this works with if you had an idea, or it could be a memory or whatever from the past. And I simply was writing it down on a piece of paper. I'm not very computer literate, and so I'd write on a piece of paper, stick it on the stairs, and then at the end of the week, I'd pick up all these scraps of paper and put whatever stories I had into whatever section it was supposed to go in. And that's basically how I did it. Middle of the night, if you're of an age where you keep a pad and pencil by your bed because you think of something and think, I got to remember that in the morning. And if I don't write it down, I won't remember. I did a lot of that. So I'm not insinuating that your young viewers who are writers forget like I do, but it's not a bad idea to do that.
And then there's that moment in time when that book finally arrives at your house, your home, and you open that package for the first time and you get to hold your book.
Yeah.
Could you take us back to what that feels like? Because I want to motivate people to keep writing that book.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. It really was. I had Amazon, I self-published, and Amazon had sent me 6 books for me to take a look at, like I think I'd ordered them as author's copies. And so when that box arrived with the first copies, and I looked at this thing and I thought, wow, it was bigger than I thought, way bigger than I ever thought it would be in terms of just the weight of it. And this, I don't know, it's really quite shocking if it's your first time. And, but it's very gratifying too. And you can't help but keep going back and looking at it, gee, I could pick this up and look here again. And, and I did that for a long time.
It's a big accomplishment. There's a lot of people who start and never continue or fulfill that dream of publishing a book. So you've done it. So that's inspiration right there. And it's not bragging if you've done it because you've done it. So that's great. I'm glad that you have that. Yeah.
I've done it. Yeah. And I would just say, don't give up. If you've got an idea in your head that's a book, you can self-publish, and even if it doesn't sell a whole lot of copies, you have the gratification of having accomplished what you've done, and your friends will read it, and your family will read it, and maybe it helps your family learn a little bit more about you, especially if it's a memoir or something like that. Then, of course, it's up to you
Yeah.
what you want to say. But no, you're right. The package arrives, and you open it up, and all those movies you see where the father was an author and he's tearing open this thing and holding up his
Right.
book.
It's exciting.
It's true.
And I like that
It's
you
true.
have it tied to supporting the great work in Honduras as well. So as we buy the book, money is heading down to Honduras to help people. So we get your book in our hands, which is great, but as well, we're supporting something bigger by purchasing the book. I love the connection there.
Yes, you are. It's I'm I don't get support from anybody. It's not like I've been supported by an organization or the church or anything. I mean, yes, over the years they've given me donations and things like that, but that's not support. I mean, it still costs, a lot to go down, and the cost of uh, the food to feed the kids and educational supplies and the dental supply. Although the dental supplies, they pretty much come with the dentist and they get donated free, but uniforms, the kids that can't afford uniforms, and just everyday living for these people, that's what it's going towards. And we did, I have built a couple of schools. I built Ann Fowler Bilingual School, and with a lot of help. I built a couple of libraries, school libraries, one in our main elementary school. I built a library, and in the high school, I built a library. And, that was very gratifying. And we had to get books for it. I had to get books for it and things like that. And they have to be replenished occasionally. So, it's just cost of running what's going on everyday life in the town.
Is there a term of endearment that the people down there in Honduras have for you, coming back every year to support and love them and be there for them? Do they have any?
Well, I'm seeing a term of endearment. I'm Senora Anna.
Okay.
Senora Anna, Senora Anna. And I think some of them think I'm a pain in the neck, but because I bug them to do stuff, pick up garbage, do this stuff. But I'm very fond of the Honduran people. I mean, when I think about it, I mean, I've been there since 2000. I started in 93 going there. So I've been there 30 years in Honduras. So more than a third of my life. I mean, I spent in Honduras. So I guess I'm part Honduran.
I hear people say that they leave their heart in San Francisco, but what part of you is living in Honduras while you're up here in Canada?
Oh, that's hard. When I come back in April, the end of April is when I come back for the summer. Of course, I'm so anxious to see my daughter and my son and my grandchildren and all my friends. But by about August, I'm chomping at the bit to get back to Honduras, And one of the hardest things I'm ever going to have to do will be leave Honduras, which is going to happen. And, it's my kids are making me kind of narrow it down to when, but I mean, I can't stay forever. I can't. I mean, because I can't live on my own like that. I mean, I'm going to be 84 in January, so I mean, I've got a few more years down there. And at this point, what I'm negotiating with people is how to continue the programs, keep them going even after I'm gone, and the dental teams will continue for sure, because they'll be have my house. Because I think it's a distinct possibility that my Honduran son, he and his family may buy the house from me, which will make me extremely happy, because to have him live there, it's his happy place to go there. and he'll expand the
Yeah.
program because I mean he runs the clinic, the clinic in El Progreso, which is a medical clinic for the poor, and so he wants to see that our dental program expanded on the North Coast. So it's
Yeah.
going to keep going, but I just may not be there to do it.
So, Anne, we have listeners, Anne, that listen to the show who maybe are now in the US or Canada from Honduras, or we have listeners in Honduras that listen to the podcast. And the sound of your voice, there's going to be people who know of you, you have touched their families, you have had an impact on them. And if I was to get out of the way for a moment and you could talk to your people in Honduras and those that have been impacted by all the great work you and your team have done to support that amazing place in the world, what's your message to them? If you could speak to them directly and they could hear you speak to them now, if I got out of the way, what would you like to say to them?
What would I like to say? I miss you. I miss you. And I look forward to coming back in November. And our programs are going to continue. I mean, they continue when I'm gone, the basic stuff, the education. But I look forward to returning and seeing people and seeing what else we can do, you know. And I'm so proud of a lot of the things that they've done and what they've accomplished in their own personal growth. You're going to start me cry. You're going to start me crying if you keep going on this. Yeah.
And what I love about what you do is you are living your legacy. You are not dreaming about having an impact on the world. You're actively having an impact on the world. There is no reason why you should ever go to any other country. You could just take care of yourself, be a big success and have all the fancy things in life. And you've earned that. You've earned that right to have that. But yet you walked away from it all and put your love and attention into people. You were a stranger at one point in Honduras. They didn't know who you were. And now, 30 years later,
oh yeah,
you are like a staple to these people. And I'm sure as eager as you are to get there, they're as eager for you to arrive because they can't wait to have you come back. So that's amazing.
I hope so. Yeah. You know, my friends are trying to convince me to write another book. And my next door neighbor on this side actually came up with the name. And what did she say it was going to be called? We were talking about people being retired and what are you going to do to complete your life after you retire? Something to do with, accomplishments and what differences we've seen and the changes we've seen in people and inspiration. And I can't think of the name. Of course, what can I tell you? I've forgotten it, but I have it written down somewhere if I ever start writing it.
I like it. It's great. Instead of retiring, we're refocused. We have a new focus in life, right? Something along those lines, right? That'll be.
Well, that's right. Because I really didn't retire. No, I mean, I retired from the agency business, but no. Well, when I'm up here at the cottage, my son says this is my real retirement. You know, when mother's at the cottage, she's at her real retirement, So, and I guess that's true.
Well, I hope that you have time and to accept the praise of people that you've touched and you accept the gratitude that people have for you and your team. Again, I know it's a team. It's not just you that does all of this, but I hope that you do have time in your day to think about those people and those smiles that are now happening in that part of the world because of you and your team. So I hope you enjoy that and you relish that because that is something to be very proud of, that you've taken something you have and the skills and talents you've had and you've been able to help another community outside of your own. That's something we need more of in this world. And I hope that everyone that buys your book is inspired to get a new hat and put it on and to go and do something new in whatever chapter of their life it is. And you're a great example of my podcast name, Living the Next Chapter. You are living your next chapter.
It is. And that's what attracted me to it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you doing the interview and appreciate the work that you and your wife are doing in the other end of it. And so we're probably going to, maybe at one point, we don't live that far away from each other. Although I don't drive I can't drive anymore. So I'm kind of isolated, but we're fellow Canucks, so there we are.
There you go. And I love the sounds behind you. They're so relaxing and calming. I want to see those birds and I want to go walk around and see that place. Again, Anne, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for making time to do this with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for all the good things you put in the world for us. I really appreciate that. It's great.
So I would just encourage the people that are watching this, please do buy the book. I think you'll find it entertaining. Something in there is going to touch you for sure. It's quite the story. I've got to tell you.
And you are quite the story, and your book is a good compliment to that. So,
yeah. And I'm only 123 years old. That's what somebody said once when they were introducing me as a speaker for the night, and they had gone through all the stuff I had done. They were joking, and they were going through all the stuff I've done in my life, and they said, and she's only 123 years old.
Very spry for 123. That is a great. Yeah.
Very spry for 123.
That's great. Anne, thank you so much for doing this.
Anyhow, thanks a lot, David.
We will have links to all your stuff here on the web, on the notes for the podcast. Encourage everyone to go and buy Anne's book. Buy an extra copy for your friends and send it to them as well, and leave a great review for Anne's book so more people will know about it. And just know that when you buy the book, you're supporting all the great work happening in Honduras. For Anne and her team, all the best to you, Anne, and your team as you get together this weekend to celebrate. I hope there's lots of hugs and smiles and laughter as you get together.
Pray for sunny weather. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Okay, bye now.
Jumping here at the very end, I want to thank you for coming. We have listeners around the world, and I got to tell you, as a podcaster, it is so great to hear back from the people who listen to the show. Now, you are still here. The podcast's over. Like we're sweeping up and putting the chairs away. You're still here. So, hi. I would love to talk to you. No, I really, really would. I would love to hear your voice. I would love to hear from you through email. You can do all that at livingthenextchapter.com. I say it fast because I love it. Living the Next Chapter. It's the name of the podcast. .com. How's that for easy? Right? Right. So come on over there and let's have a conversation. You can set up time in my calendar. You can, air quote here, book. Book time in my calendar. Book next chapter. Let's have a conversation. Thanks for being here. See you on the next one. Cheers.